take in as a physical therapist. Now, when I was a young therapist, it was a little overwhelming. I've been doing it almost 20 years. I get right to the point. I said, does it hurt here? Ow! Does it hurt here? Ow! Does it hurt here? Ow! How about in here? Oh, gee! How about back? Ow! And all of a sudden, I go on to assess the integrity of the ligaments around the shoulder, and here's a typical pattern. Pull down on the arm. Okay, pretty stable. Push back on the arm. It's very restricted. The humerus just doesn't move in the joint. Then I move it this way, and it goes. It's like Gumby going forward. A lot of excess motion within the joint. And I think what happens is in swimming, makes sense. All this pulling and emphasis in the front of the body is utilizing the flexors. It's kind of like, have you ever seen a weightlifter? He or she's like this, and they're mainly the guys, you know, they're always working the biceps, and how does their posture look? They go, man, I look really strong. I go, can you stand up neutral? They go, what does that mean? They can't even obtain neutral spine. They're so overpowered by their soft tissue. Swimmers are dealing with the same thing. It's just more subtle. Swimmers are more streamlined, more sleek looking than the, big kind of build of the weightlifters. So in the clinic, what we do is after our assessment, we routinely deal with releasing the pec, the neck, the hip flexors, the quads. So when we're dealing with somebody's shoulder problems, we're dealing really in the lower chain as well, the legs. We're working on flexibility in the front of the body, in the front of the hips. And so what we do then is we say, well, okay, here's a few strengthening exercises. Their posture's getting better. And they say, well, how am I supposed to do this myself? That's a real million-dollar question. And the issue is we help them and teach them about the different areas of the body, suboccipital region, upper traps, scalene, side of the neck. These are the key spots for swimmers, by the way. So in this presentation, you can really take away this 1, 2, 3, upper, middle, lower back, 4, 5, 6, and then around the pelvic girdle, different parts of the glute, sacrotuberous ligaments, tensor fascia lata, hip flexors, and then in terms of the IT bands, hamstrings, adductors, calves, and then up and through the upper extremities. If you're having a swimmer that has, just routinely struggles with kind of rotator cuff symptoms, well, we can show easy release methodologies for the rotator cuff, RTCs, triceps, because that'll help range of motion overhead, forearms. Milt's doing a lot of stuff with the neuro side of this. He'll have his swimmers roll out on my foam rollers, and then he'll have them just jump in the pool. He says their interaction with the water is much more effective, much more efficient. So there's this whole neuro element and interaction. It's not just physical knots in the muscle or restriction in the tendons and muscles like I used to think. At this point, is there any particular questions? And I'm going to continue on for a few more minutes, but does anyone have any experiences, opinions, things you utilize, any comments somebody wants to add in at this point? Okay. So the real basis of this is very interesting, I think, in terms of proving its value. There's 4 studies here. You can go look them up. All you have to do is just, copy, paste, and you'll find these research studies online. It's very interesting. This study here showed that it decreased muscle soreness and increased vertical jump capability. So let's translate that into swimming. Push off the wall. Wow, wouldn't it be great if all of our swimmers could actually get off the wall quicker, more efficiently? Because their soft tissue's not so restricted. They're able to fire those those contractile tissues and elastic tissues for their benefit performance-wise. Next one is roller massage application to the hamstring, increases sit reach, range of motion, 5-10 seconds and all this. Well, the note here, I looked up the study, it actually showed a ridge foam roller like this design here. And I was like, wow, that's kind of neat. I haven't been able to say in the past that we have scientifically the most effective design of foam roller. I couldn't say that until just the other day when I actually delved into the research. Because I can't make a claim if it hasn't been empirically proven. And then the third thing is, and I thought this was really interesting, foam rollers can actually increase arterial flexibility, vessel flexibility, and improve vascular function. That's tremendous. That is absolutely tremendous news. To think you can put this device on the wall or the floor, you roll on it, and it'll actually do something more than just work on the muscle and things you can kind of touch and feel, but deeper in, your blood vessels will have more distensibility. And that's critical, especially working with athletes at a high level. And I'm extrapolating here, but if you think about it, the amount of force in a vascular dynamic flow sense that's being generated out of the heart, wouldn't it be nice if all our athletes, their arterial walls were more flexible? That's fascinating to me. So this has become a lot more than just kind of a ridiculous piece of foam. Then the last one that I used here, and there's other studies, but I thought these were kind of four very key ones. Comparison of pressure exerted on soft tissue by two myofascial rollers. And they found the ridged roller was more effective than the smooth roller, because that's the again, the real buzz question that's always presented to me. They go, Kipp, that looks great, and man, who's going to spend 30 to 60? We even have a roller that's this big and super dense for $110. Who's ever going to pay that? That's ridiculous. Well, at least I could say, well, you could figure it out. There's the research, before us. Last thing is, I just wanted to put my email in here if anyone had questions, or a Skype number. I'm actually in the process of uploading some tutorial videos. Even if you have a smooth foam roller, you'll still garner a lot of insight out of the tutorial. So my goal here is I just want to elevate, the awareness of the SMR, things that can be done. I'm not here primarily to say, okay, Thera-roll is the end all be all. How many of you guys think this might be beneficial for your athletes, something you've been considering recently? Yeah, interesting. Because this is a very new kind of phenomenon in the marketplace. And I think the history of it's only about maybe 18, 19 years in the making. Popularized the smooth foam roller for Feldenkrais movements. And then years later, it was really in 2007, a woman in the US out of California patented the smooth foam roller. So it's kind of interesting progression from an IP standpoint. And when I was doing my patent prior art search, I said, well, is this worth doing a intellectual property or a patent application, utility patent application for something with texture? So we know now, yeah, I was the first to design something with texture and in the IP. I was the first one. Now there's a bunch of them. There's a number of companies out there. So I'm kind of excited that my kind of crazy potato chip idea was practically translated into something that others are seeing some value in. What I want to do is, before I open it up for any last minute questions, is since I've got this virtual desktop and supposedly everything's at my fingertips, let me just pull up a couple exercises here to show you what can be done. What happened is I boxes over from the States, and we've been having a pretty bad winter, and the boxes never arrived. They made it into Sweden a few days ago, processed through customs, but I'm waiting. Kind of glad they didn't show up. It's given me more time to really interact with people, and I've learned so much here at the conference that locally here, I just said to Toba and Hilda that we need to, get these rollers out to people that are interested. So if you're, local area, contact them, and in the near future we'll have the format so you can just buy it from them, versus me taking them all back home to the States. So we've kind of had to adjust on the fly, so to speak. Let's just see if I can get back into my virtual desktop here. Let's see. You know what I can do? If we don't go that route, we'll just go direct onto the internet. Okay. And then if we type in Thera-roll. Okay, images. What I want, yeah, here we go. So what I wanted to show you, this is just as good. This is perfect. I wanted to just show you, we made up some exercise sheets here. Actually, it's right on my company's website. We're kind of revamping the site, make it a lot more user-friendly. So I wanted to show you that this is me, don't laugh, and my wife's much better looking of the two of us. But I wanted to show you, in terms of our larger diameter rollers, these are 7 inches in diameter. We have some of a little bit less in girth. This is a 3.5 by 12. These edges go to a spiked edge, so it does a lot of different things in the soft tissue. Anecdotally, I don't have no scientific evidence on this, but it really gets very deep into the tissue with the spiked edges, versus this has more of a rounded eris to the edges or apex of the roller, and you can see here where, if you have a high enough density roller, you can do this right out on the pool deck. Ideally, it's better if you're on an exercise mat to protect the foam, versus right on concrete. Concrete kind of beat up foam products, but the products last forever if you don't let any sharp edges get into them. But you can see how beneficial this can be for the swimmers that are struggling with different tightness in their hamstring. And on these exercise guides that you can find online, I've said what to do but what not to do, what to avoid. And the beauty of that is you can confidently work with your athletes and you'll know you're not going to hurt them. Because if I take this foam sheet online for neck techniques, well, the last thing you want to do is be rolling on the carotid arteries. That's real bad. So this can actually be a very, unsafe product to use without some guidance. But once you have that general kind of guidelines to an effective product to use. And then at this point, I wanted to highlight this particular exercise. This is one I do quite a bit. So I tend to, like everybody else, migrate towards this flexion type posture. So after I've released all the knots out of my back, and I'm feeling pretty good, pretty loose. I get a lot of tension through my scalenes and posture on the floor. The roll right at the tips, the lower edges of the shoulder blades. My pecs, my biceps, deltoids, just letting everything release. And then what I'll also do on that roller is I'll grab my positions back into hyperextension. And I won't get into all the reasons why positions are really fine in the discal tissue and pressures. It can alleviate a lot of discal pressure in doing this. I'm just giving you kind of ideas, guys. Out of here, I want to help just be a resource. And you can fire me out an email anytime, any question. I just want to be kind of in the mix helping out. So that's kind of my presentation today. And any comments, any questions? Up here in Scandinavia. And you guys are always like, guys typically use these rollers use the roller on a regular basis. Okay, out of the 1, 2, no, keep your hands up. 4, 5. Okay, out of about a dozen people, how many find that they're really beneficial? That you okay, so about 2/3 of the 12, almost a little more, 80%. So I think this was a healthy thing to kind of bring our awareness up this morning, and I do appreciate your time. Thank you.